Today, I will be talking about how to fact check the news about the death of Gabby Petito and the timeline leading up to her death. Gabby Petito went missing while on a road trip with her fiance, Brian Laundrie. After being reportedly missing, she was found dead. I have been following this news story for a couple months and doing research to gain more knowledge. I'm also using 5 newscasts today, from CNN, Christina Maxtress, from CBS, Tamara Weitzman, from the New York Times, Catherine Rossman, from USA Today, John Bakken, and lastly, from the Washington Post, Maria Paul. I will be fact-checking all of these newscasts to piece together the information of the timeline from the start of the couple's vacation to the most recent information released. The news has done a very good job at piecing together the disappearance of Gabby and some facts of her timeline. What we know from Christina Maxtress with CNN is that Gabby Petito is a 22-year-old social media influencer who embraces her popular van life trend by traveling all around the U.S. in her van with her fiance, Brian Laundrie. CNN also posted that Brian Laundrie is a 22-year-old who has been helping Gabby with her social media and traveling by her side for years. CNN received this information after it was originally published by the FBI at the start of the case. So what we know about Gabby's disappearance now from CBS, Weitzman, says that the road trip originally started at the end of June when the couple planned to travel from the West Coast to visit the state and national parks across the western United States. And the disappearance of Gabby Petito originally starts on August 21st, 2021, when the couple in Moab, Utah, who is confirmed to be Gabby and Brian, are described as getting into a physical fight following an argument, which is stated by the Moab Police Department. CNN has also used this same source from the Moab Police Department. Another known fact from this case is reported by the New York Times. Since Gabby was reportedly missing, coincidentally, Brian also went missing back in Florida. His family refused to give information on his whereabouts, and Rossman from the New York Times says that because of this, it has caused a lot of ruckus on social media. This statement of Brian's family refusing to give information has been used on all newscasts so far, which is placing the Laundrie family as a prime suspect. Also in the New York Times, it is repeated that after Gabby's body was found on October 21st, Brian's body is confirmed to be found by the FBI and the Northport Police Department in Florida, that his body was found in a skeletal state at the Carlton Reserve, meaning he was dead long before his body was found. And the news does a very good job at using correct facts and while telling this story, but oftentimes they add their opinions. Throughout the story, there has been many opinionated comments made in the news due to the popularity of this story. A statement found in CNN by Maxtress with a credible source was that Gabby was very oriented and kept close contact with them almost every day. This statement isn't backed up by any interviews or any reliable source. The journalist sometimes makes up these opinions or adds them in by something that they may have heard without any credible source. Sometimes to make the story more interesting by, in this instance, it could be a target at blaming Brian for the death of Gabby to start up more drama. And another statement by CBS Weitzman that was made about Gabby's personal life is that her and Brian had a very toxic and misleading relationship that also has not been proven or commented on by friends or family, which means this statement is also opinionated, targeting Brian for the death of Gabby. And although the news has their facts and opinions, a lot of them use information and gathering techniques that are the same. And so far in this case, I've covered CBS, CNN, and the New York Post. And all 3 of these sources obtain their information very similarly by using interviews, statements, or conferences by the police. Now, in this news case, it's more common to see the police making public statements, and that's how a lot of newscasts get their information, because the FBI is the only law that has covered this case. So whatever they say is what is known to be true, because they are the most reliable source that we have. And although other newscasts like USA Today and the Washington Post obtain their information more by interviews and research from other journalists, all of these are very efficient, but the interviews and statements can be more efficient when checking the credibility. And since this case is very popular, it was covered by many newscasters, which made the information throughout to be very similar. Because oftentimes you see, like the New York Times, for example, use a lot of information that they got from the Washington Post. So these newscasters can sometimes use other journalists' information and just give them the credit, but it's still going to be shown up on the New York Times' article. And you can also see in this case, it was very similar to see a lot of people using headings like timeline or leading up to, because all of these articles will update, or all of these newscasters will update their articles daily. So it's like you go to their website and all of the information is there. It's not just one day, it's from the entire time of the case, which is what keeps these newscasters information up to date and correct. And the only difference in these articles is how much information was covered. Because there was several cases that were covered by different newscasters focusing on different topics in this case. A lot of people focused on just Gabby, or a lot of people focused on the background of Brian, or just the timeline throughout. And it is noted that the Washington Post by Maria Paul covered over 8 different articles on Gabby Petito's case. And the USA Today by John Bagan only had around 3. Now, CNN did use the best covering in this case because they also had around 8 different articles and several journalists covering each one, but I did focus on just the one by Christina Maxiris, and all the information matched with each source from all 5 newscasts. And in the summary of Gabby Petito's case, it is confirmed that Brian and Gabby are both dead. The case reached people nationwide and was heartbreaking to everyone. CNN, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and USA Today kept their information up to date and correct. They all 5 had very similar information, and it is noted that CNN covered the story better while including more information. Now, Gabby was a young girl who wanted to travel and share her life through social media. Unfortunately, she lost her life while on the road trip with her fiance. There isn't anything confirmed whether or not Brian did kill Gabby, but this case has touched a lot of people, and Gabby's story will live on, and she will get justice.